Join Kids Hut family.
Tia, aren't you going to your friend's party?
No, Tofu. Mummy has asked me to stay home with you tonight because she and Papa will be returning home late.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Tia. Because of me, you can't go to your party.
It's okay, Tofu. Sometimes we have to sacrifice things for the ones we love. Just like the Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid. Is it a story? Tell me, Tia, please.
The Little Mermaid. Once upon a time, there was a sea kingdom at the bottom of the sea. The king of the seas had 6 beautiful daughters who were mermaids. They were all very beautiful, but the youngest of them was the prettiest of them all. She had a gentle face, big round eyes, and a voice sweeter than anyone else's in the world. When the Little Mermaid turned 15 years old, her grandmother called her to her room. "Come, my darling. Today you have turned 15. And from now onwards, you can go to the world above. Just remember, the people above are very different from us. They do not have a beautiful fishtail like us. Instead, they have 2 legs.
Thank you, Grandmother. I have waited for this day for so long. When I return, I will tell you about everything I see above.
That night, the Little Mermaid went to the surface of the water. The sight of the stars and the cool breeze that touched her face took her breath away. She was just getting used to the feeling when she saw a big ship cross in front of her. Aboard it were many men, and they were celebrating the birthday of the young prince who had just turned 16. The Little Mermaid was mesmerized with the handsome looks of the prince. She couldn't take her eyes off him as the ship sailed past her. She was so lost in him that she did not notice the storm build up in the sky and the sea begin to rage. The ship had only sailed a little further when the storm shook it up. The sailors tried to stir it to safety, but many men, including the prince, fell into the sea. The Little Mermaid rushed to him and saved him from drowning. She took him ashore.
Don't worry, you are safe. Open your eyes.
But the prince lay unconscious. The mermaid decided to get help. When she couldn't get any, she came back to where the prince was. She saw him surrounded by many people. A beautiful princess was kneeling by him as others worked to awaken him. The prince opened his eyes, and the little mermaid was relieved that her prince will be saved now.
You saved my life. Thank you.
The prince knew nothing about the little mermaid. He didn't even know that it was she who had actually saved his life. This broke the mermaid's heart. She went back to her father's home. She told her sisters and grandmother what had happened.
Forget him, child. Humans and we are very different. To be with him forever, you will have to get him to love you more than anything else he loves in the world, even more than his own parents. How will that ever happen? Think about it.
But the little mermaid could not forget the handsome prince. Every night she visited the spot where she had laid him after saving his life. One day, she decided to visit the witch in her father's kingdom. Maybe she knew a way that the mermaid could be with the prince.
Yes, there is a way. I can send you to the land above the sea. You will lose your fishtail and have legs. If by the second sunset you can get the prince to love you more than he loves his parents, then you can be with him forever. Otherwise, you will die and become foam in the sea. But in return, you must give me your voice.
But without my voice, how will I make the prince fall in love with me?
You still have your pretty face and eyes. You will also be the most beautiful dancer anyone has ever seen. Now go.
In a flash, the mermaid found herself on the land. Her fishtail turned into human legs. It caused her pain, but she could not even scream because the witch had taken her voice away. Somehow, the mermaid made her way to the prince's castle. There was a big celebration going on there, but the guards would not let the mermaid enter because they didn't know who she was, and she couldn't answer them when they asked her about it. So she was not allowed to enter. Somewhere in the castle, music started playing. Remembering what the witch had said about dancing, Little Mermaid started dancing.
Oh, I have never seen anyone dance so beautifully. Maybe she has come to dance for the royal family in the celebrations. Oh, she is a dancer. Let me take her to the court.
Once the mermaid reached the royal court, she saw that the celebration was for the wedding of the prince. Little Mermaid was heartbroken. She thought the only way of meeting the prince now would be to dance and draw his attention towards her. And so she performed a beautiful dance for the royal family. When the prince saw her, he came up to her.
Hello, young lady. I have seen you in my dreams. Who are you?
In his heart, the prince hoped that she would be the one who had saved him from drowning. He longed to hear the voice that had saved him when he was dying. But no sound came out when the little mermaid tried to reply.
Forgive me. I think I'm confused between you and someone else. But please do join us.
The prince led her to the ship on which the wedding was going to take place. Many people spoke to her, but she could not answer anyone. The princess was especially kind to her and took special care of her.
I know you saved the prince that day. Thank you. Because of you, I have found the love of my life. Please always stay with us.
The little mermaid saw that the princess and the prince loved each other and were very happy together. She decided not to pursue the prince anymore. He belonged to another woman. Although her heart ached to let him go, she happily attended the wedding and all the celebrations that went on throughout the next day. Soon it was evening. The second sunset was about to happen. The little mermaid knew she would die and become foam on the sea. As she stood there, looking at the prince and his princess, she heard some voices behind her. She turned around to see. Her sisters were there in the water. But all of them had very short hair now, instead of the long flowing locks they used to have earlier.
Sisters, what are you doing here?
We have come to save you. We went to the witch. In exchange of our hair, she gave us this knife. If you stab the prince through his heart before sunset, you can be saved. Handing the knife to the youngest sister, all the other sisters vanished under the water once again. The little mermaid stood there holding the knife to her heart. She looked at the newlyweds once again. She knew what she had to do. At the sunset, she tossed the knife into the sea.
Goodbye, my love.
And so, for the happiness of her beloved prince, the little mermaid sacrificed her own life and joined the sea as foam.
Tia, this is such a beautiful story. It shows how much the little mermaid loved the prince. Thank Thank you for not going to the party and staying with me.
That's because I love you, my little brother.
I love you too, my darling sister Tia. Tia, today I'm very happy. I met one of my friends who was acting all greedy and selfish in class. So I told him the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, and he soon understood the lesson.
Really, Tofu? I haven't heard this one. I would love to hear it from you. The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Once upon a time, there was a town named Hamelin. The town was beautiful, bustling with energy and wealth. But no sooner the happiness of the town was ruined by a plague. Plague of rats. There were rats everywhere. So much so that the people of the town didn't even have a place to keep a step without tripping over the rats. There were rats of every size, shape, every age and color. Nothing worked as a remedy. Not even the cats were able to control the plague of rats. Giving up, the authorities decided to announce a reward of 10 bags of gold to anyone who could help to get rid of the rats. One day, a strange-looking man came to the town. He was dressed in their traditional dress, but all red in color. With a long, peculiar nose and big, wide eyes, he adorned his head with a feather in his hat. He went to the authorities and said, I have a solution for your problem. I assure you that not a single rat would live in this beautiful town. But I want 10 gold bags that you have promised as prize. The authorities were not very sure of his commitment, but still allowed him to give it a try as they had no other option. Soon, the strange-looking man took out a Pied Piper from his pocket and started playing a very strange tune. Within no time, all the rats started coming out and following him. From every nook and corner of the town, so many rats came out that the whole street was filled with them. Very strangely, the rats started following the Pied Piper, who was playing the strangest tune ever heard. The Pied Piper took them to the town's river and entered into it. In no time, all the rats, mesmerized by his tune, fell into the river and drowned. There were rejoices in the town, celebrations all over. Soon, the Pied Piper went to the authorities to claim his prize money. But since their work was done and they thought that this plague would never return, they shunned him off and asked him to leave without giving him a single penny.
What selfish people are these? I did them a favor, freed them from such a bad epidemic, and all they could care was to be greedy and ungrateful? Now look how I will teach these selfish people a lesson.
The Pied Piper took out his pipe once again and started playing another strange tune. A tune that no one had ever heard before. In no time, all the children of the town, mesmerized by the music, started following the Pied Piper. The children were so lost in his tune that they didn't realize that they have come out to the outskirts of the town. The Pied Piper took them to a cave and let them in. He kept playing the tune till all the children were inside the cave. He then closed the cave with a huge stone. Only 2 kids were left in the entire town. A boy who was hard of hearing and a girl who had hurt her legs so badly that she couldn't keep up the pace with the rest of the kids. These 2 kids went back and told their parents about the Pied Piper and how he lured all the children into the cave. Soon, the authorities went begging to the Pied Piper and requested him to let their children out. This time, they promised to reward him with 20 gold bags.
I don't trust you any longer. I want my prize money beforehand.
Soon, he was handed over his prize money. And he left, never to be seen again. The children were freed from the cave, and the parents hugged them and cried. Watching this, the authorities said,
We surely have learned a lesson. This man came out of nowhere and saved us from an epidemic. All that we did in return was to be selfish and ungrateful. He surely taught us a lesson of not to be greedy and selfish.
That night, the town rejoiced and celebrated like a festival. It's still said that in the town of Hamelin, if you ever go and listen carefully, you might hear the beautiful sound of the Pied Piper. Tofu, I'm so proud of you. You must be a little naughty, but you surely are a good boy. Ha 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 ha.
girls have such an easy life, dear. No school, no rules, no homework. What do they have to worry about?
Everybody has their troubles, Tofu. Let me tell you the story of Thumbelina. Once upon a time, a woman lived by herself in a faraway village. She was very lonely after her husband had died. She always wanted to have a child, but alas, she didn't have any. One day, she went to her friend who was a witch. The witch gave her a grain of barley and told her to go back home and plant it. The woman did as she was told. The next morning, a beautiful plant had grown from the seed. It had a lovely flower that looked like a tulip. The woman had never seen a flower like that and was mesmerized by its beauty. She gently kissed one of its petals. As she did that, the flower blossomed open. Inside it was a beautiful little girl, no bigger than the size of the woman's thumb. The woman instantly fell in love with her and called her Thumbelina. Thumbelina took away the woman's loneliness. In the day, she would tell her stories and talk to her. Sometimes she would make Thumbelina a boat out of a tulip petal which she could row in a plate full of water. At night, Thumbelina would sleep in a bed out of a walnut shell with a blanket made of a rose petal. One night, as she was sleeping, a frog came to her window and saw her. He thought to himself, "What a beautiful girl! She will make a lovely bride for my son." And so he grabbed Thumbelina and hopped away to his home. When his son saw his bride-to-be, he was very happy. "She is beautiful, father. I will marry her. But before that, I want to build her a beautiful house."
Okay, son. I will put her on the water lily in the middle of the pond till then. This way she will not be able to escape.
And so the frog put Thumbelina in the middle of the pond on a water lily leaf. Thumbelina tried to escape from her new home, but when she couldn't, she broke down crying. Two minnows were sitting under the same leaf and they heard her cry. They asked her about her troubles, and when she told them, they decided to help her. They nibbled away the lily stem. Soon it broke and floated away with Thumbelina. Just when Thumbelina thought she was free, a beetle came down and took her away to his home. He called over his friends to introduce them to his pretty prisoner. But the beetle's friends told him that she was too different than them and she didn't belong with them.
I agree. I think I should let her go.
And so he dropped her in the long grass and flower. Thumbelina was very happy that she was free from her captors. However, she still did not know where her home was. She spent many days in the grass and between the flowers. She would eat the pollen of the flowers and drink the dew from the leaves. One day, as she was walking, she stumbled upon a small house made of mud. It had a strange round entrance. She went up to it and knocked on the door. A mouse opened the door.
Oh, hello there. Isn't it cold out there for you today? Come in, please. Thank you so much.
Once Thumbelina was settled comfortably in the mouse's house, he asked her about who she was. Thumbelina told him her entire story.
Do not worry. You can stay here as long as you like.
So Thumbelina started staying in her newfound home. To make herself useful in the house, she would cook for the mouse and tell him stories. After a few days, the mouse said he had invited a guest over.
He is the richest mouse in all the land. He is a very good friend of mine.
That night, the mouse's friend came over for dinner. They all talked and had a very good time. During the course of dinner, the friend fell in love with Thumbelina and declared that he would marry her. Thumbelina had no choice but to go along with what was happening. When the friend offered to show her his home, she agreed to visit his house. And the three of them set off together. On the way, they entered a tunnel. There they found an injured swallow lying on the ground. The mouse's friend kicked it and rudely said,
Serves her right. What is she doing in the tunnels? He should have stayed in the air.
Thumbelina was shocked to see that someone could treat another like this. Unseen by the mice, she ran away from there. Once she was sure that the mice had left, she came back and attended to the swallow. She took great care of her. Till she was fit to fly again. It became spring by the time the swallow could fly again. She told Thumbelina,
I have to join my family and friends. They have flown away to a warmer place. I cannot stay here. Come with me.
But Thumbelina had had enough adventure and did not want to go anywhere else, and so the swallow flew away. A few months had passed when the love-struck friend of the mouse found Thumbelina again.
Oh, my beloved, I have been looking for you everywhere. Now I have found you and must marry you.
Thumbelina knew there was no way out of it for her, so she asked him if she could spend one last day out in the open air before she was confined to living the rest of her life underground with him. As she roamed in the open fields for one last time, she heard a familiar voice.
Come away with me, where your spirit will always be free.
Thumbelina saw her old friend who had returned for her. This time around, she agreed and hopped on the back of the swallow, and they took off. They flew over land and water and fields of green. When they reached the land of the flowers, the swallow landed Thumbelina on a beautiful flower petal.
This is the kingdom of the flowers, and that is their king.
Thumbelina saw a handsome young king with beautiful wings. He was surrounded by lovely flowers. As soon as she saw him, she knew she wanted to call this place home. Her presence attracted the king's attention. He too fell in love with her immediately. Will you marry me?
Yes.
As happiness spread across her face, she grew a beautiful pair of wings and became the flower queen.
Oh wow, Tia. I don't know what I would do if I would land in such a strange world. I think I am happy where I am. The boys in my class are very mean to me. They are so tall and big that I always have to listen to whatever they say. I am afraid to disagree with them.
Size has nothing to do with courage, Tofu. You don't have to be afraid just because you are short. Have you heard the story of Peter Pan? Peter Pan Once upon a time, in London, the darlings went out to a dinner party, leaving their 3 children, Wendy, John, and Michael at home. After Wendy had tucked her younger brothers John and Michael to bed, she went to read a book. She heard a boy sobbing outside her window. He was flying. There was a little fairy fluttering around him. Wendy opened the window to talk to him.
Hello, who are you? Why are you crying?
My name is Peter Pan. My shadow wouldn't stick to me.
Don't worry. Come inside.
Peter agreed. Wendy took his shadow and sewed it to his shoe tips. Now his shadow followed him wherever Peter Pan went. He was delighted.
Thank you so much. Why don't you come with me to my home? The Neverland. I live there with my fairy Tinkerbell.
Oh, what a wonderful idea! Let me wake up John and Michael too. Could you teach us how to fly?
Yes, of course. Get them. We will all fly together.
And so it was. 5 little figures flew out of the window of the darlings and headed towards Neverland. As they flew over the island, Peter Pan told the children more about his homeland. That island is Neverland.
All the children who get lost come and stay with Tinkerbell and me.
The Indians also live in Neverland. The mermaids live in the lagoon around the island. And a very mean pirate called Captain Hook keeps troubling everyone. Captain Hook?
Yes, a crocodile bit off his one arm. So the captain had to put a hook in its place. Since then, he's afraid of crocodiles. And rightly so. If the crocodile ever found Captain Hook, it will eat up the rest of what it couldn't eat the last time.
Soon they landed on the island. And to the surprise of Wendy, John, and Michael, Peter Pan led them in through a small opening in a tree. Inside the tree was a large room with children inside it. Some were huddled by the fire in a corner, and some were playing amongst themselves. Their faces lit up when they saw Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and their guests.
Hello, everyone. This is Wendy, John, and Michael. They will be staying with us from now on.
Hello, Wendy, John, and Michael.
A few days passed, and they settled into a routine. Wendy would take care of all the children in the day and would go out with Peter Pan and her brothers in the evening to learn more about the island. She would cook for them and stitch new clothes for them. She even made a lovely new dress for Tinker Bell. One evening, as they were out exploring the island, Peter Pan warned everyone and said,
Hide! Hide! Pirates! And they've kidnapped the Indian princess, Tiger Lily. They've kept her there, tied up by the rocks near the water.
Peter was afraid, and the princess would drown if she fell into the water. So, in a voice that sounded like Captain Hook, he shouted instructions to the pirates who guarded her.
You fools! Let her go at once! Do it before I come there, or else I will throw each one of you into the water.
The pirates got scared and immediately released the princess. She quickly dived into the water and swam to safety of her home.
Soon everyone found out how Peter Pan had rescued the princess.
When Captain Hook found out how Peter Pan had tricked his men, he was furious and swore to have his revenge. That night, Wendy told Peter Pan that she and her brothers wanted to go back home since they missed their parents. She said if the lost children could also return to her world, they could find nice homes for them. Peter Pan didn't want to leave Neverland. But for the sake of the lost children, he agreed, although a bit sadly. He would miss his friends dearly. The next morning, all the lost children left with Wendy, John, and Michael. But on the way, Captain Hook and his men kidnapped all of them. He tied them and kept them on one of his ships. As soon as Peter found out about it, he rushed to the ship. He swung himself from a tree's branch and onto the deck of the ship, where all the children were tied up. He swung his sword bravely and threw over the pirates who tried to stop him. Quickly, he released everyone from the captor's ties. Wendy, John, Michael, and Tinker Bell helped all the children into the water, where their friends from the Indian camp were ready with smaller boats to take them to safety. Peter Pan now went looking for Captain Hook.
Let us finish this forever, Hook. Yes, Peter Pan, you have caused me enough trouble. It is time that we finish this.
With his sword drawn, he raced towards Peter Pan. Quick on his feet, Peter Pan stepped aside and pushed Hook into the sea, where the crocodile was waiting to eat the rest of Hook. Everyone rejoiced as Captain Hook was out of their lives forever. Everybody headed back to London. Mr. and Mrs. Darling were so happy to see their children, and they agreed to adopt the lost children. They even asked Peter Pan to come and live with them. But Peter Pan said he never wanted to grow up, so he and Tinkerbell will go back to Neverland. Do visit us sometime, Peter Pan.
I will, Wendy. Promise.
And he flew out of the window with Tinkerbell by his side.
Thank you, Tia. I feel much better. The next time the boys are mean to me, I will find a nice way out.
Very good, Tofu. Now come, I can see Mom's car right there.
Tia, I'm getting bored. Will you please stop reading and talk to me?
Bored? How can you get bored, Tofu? Why don't you write a story of your own?
I can't think up a story, Tia, especially when I'm so bored.
Looks like you haven't heard of Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland. One sunny day, Alice was sitting next to her sister while she was reading. Her sister had been reading books all morning, and Alice was very bored now. She thought for a while and decided to ask her sister to stop reading. She was about to do that when she saw a little white rabbit with pink eyes run past her.
I am late. I have to hurry. I am late.
Saying so, he ran into his rabbit hole. Alice was suddenly interested in this turn of events, and she decided to follow the rabbit. She went to his rabbit hole and peered down it. Suddenly, the hole gave away and Alice fell into it. She kept falling for what seemed like a very long time.
Will I ever stop falling? What kind of a strange hole is this?
At last, she landed with a thud in a big empty room. The room had 3 doors of different sizes. She saw the rabbit outside the smallest door before it closed shut. But the door was very tiny, no bigger than Alice's new pencil back home.
I must get on the other side of that door. But how will I do that? It is so small.
Then Alice noticed a small table in the corner of the room. She went to it to find a small bottle of pink potion with the label "Drink Me" on it. Next to it was a small little key, the size of the smallest door's lock.
I think this key belongs to that door. I wonder what this potion will do to me. Let me try.
And so Alice took the key in one hand and drank the potion from the bottle. Suddenly, Alice could no longer see the top of the table. The empty bottle of the pink potion became too heavy for her and fell out of her hand. She was shrinking.
What is happening to me? I am shrinking.
Once Alice was small enough to go through the smallest door, the shrinking stopped. Alice quickly ran to the door, opened it, and ran out. She found herself in the most beautiful garden she had ever seen. But she could not enjoy it because she was so tiny and all the flowers and plants were so big.
Oh, I wish I was bigger.
Hearing her, the white rabbit came to her and ordered her rather rudely.
Go to my house and get my gloves and fan.
Alice didn't know why the rabbit was so rude to her. Perhaps he didn't like being followed. Nevertheless, she decided to follow the instructions because she was curious and wanted to see the rabbit's house. When she entered the rabbit's home, she saw a yummy-looking cake on the kitchen top. It had a sticker on its plate that said, "Eat me." Alice was really hungry by now. She'd even missed lunch, so she decided to eat the cake. As soon as she took one bite, she started growing again. Soon, she would not fit into the house. She could not see the rabbit's gloves anywhere, but grabbed his fan and decided to run out of the house. As soon as she came out, she started shrinking again.
Oh no! What is this? Will I ever be back to my normal size again?
One of my mushrooms makes you grow tall, and the other side makes you shrink. Alice turned to see who was talking to her. It was a caterpillar sitting on a mushroom. She quickly ate a piece from the side he was pointing and came back to her normal size. She thanked him for his help and asked,
How do I get back home? Could you please tell me that? That path leads to the Mad Hatter and the other one to the rabbit's home.
This time it was a cat that sat in the tree that spoke. Alice thanked him and took the path to the Mad Hatter. She didn't want to meet the rude rabbit again.
I will meet you in the evening at the Queen's palace.
Halt. To go further, you must answer my question correctly.
Oh, I love riddles. Please do ask me a question.
Tell me, why is a raven like a writing desk?
Alice thought for a while, but she did not know the answer to the riddle.
Oh, I don't know the answer to your question. Could you tell me why?
The Mad Hatter was taken aback. Never had anyone asked him the answer to his own riddle.
Oh well, I don't know either. We don't know anything here. You can go ahead on the path.
Hence, Alice proceeded to the Queen's castle, where a game of croquet was on. The Queen was very unkind and unreasonable. If she didn't like someone, she would instruct her soldiers to be off with his or her heads immediately. Her guards had made a mistake earlier in the day, and so she had turned them into cards for the game. When the Queen saw Alice, she instructed her to play with her.
You will play croquet with me, and if I lose, it will be off with the head for you.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Alice was very careful. But the Queen was terrible at the game, and Alice had to try really hard to lose.
Ha! You lost. If I like, I will have your head for it.
A trumpet sounded far off, and the White Rabbit hopped forward.
The royal court is now in session, and you will be tried.
Tried? For what? I haven't even done anything.
You have been accused of stealing heart-shaped tarts from the Queen's kitchen. First, you don't know how to play croquet, and then you dare steal tarts from my kitchen? You should be punished. Off with her head.
This is silly. I haven't even stolen anything. I just reached the castle and started playing with the Queen.
She looked at the White Rabbit, the Mad Hatter, the Caterpillar, and the Cheshire Cat. They were all looking at her and smiling.
What is going on?
Alice felt someone tapping her arm. It was her sister.
Wake up, Alice. You fell asleep sitting next to me. It's time for lunch.
What a strange dream I had. I promise I will never complain of being bored while you read. That is such a strange story, Tia. Next time you sit to read, I too will write my own story instead of getting bored.
Okay, but I have to be the first one you tell it to. Okay, Tofu?
Yes.
For your favorite rhymes, stories, and more, join Kids Heart family. Subscribe here.